Hey kittens, welcome back to Up Storytime. I'm Granny Jan, and today I'm going to be sharing a couple of tinnitus terror tales. I've had tinnitus for over 40 years, and the character in these stories, Dr. Bell, who is not a real doctor, he's more of an optimistic psychopath. So there's definitely a content warning with these stories. If you're young or sensitive, now's the time to leave, because there's going to be gore, violence, swearing, very dark humor. So yeah, this is not for the young or faint of heart. So there were a couple of inspirations for these stories. The first, I was in a writer's group at the time, and they were doing a 50-word flash fiction challenge for Halloween. And so I thought that would be fun to try to challenge myself with a very, very, very short story. Then a colleague and friend of mine sent me a link to a study where pharmaceutical companies were using extremely loud, harmful noise on human subjects, which violates the Helsinki Declaration on Ethical Human Research. So it got me thinking, what if somebody like Dr. Bell wasn't a real doctor? What if all they cared about was making a ton of money on creating a cure for tinnitus and all the millions of people around the world that have it? So that's where Dr. Bell started. But once I'd written the first 50-word story, more and more Dr. Bell stories started coming into my head, and he's turned into one of my favorite characters. So I've also want to share a bonus story that is a little bit of an extra for Dr. Bell fans. So let's get started, shall we, kittens? Tinnitus Study 421, Rotary. "I can fix you," muttered Dr. Bell. She struggled against the restraints, uselessly. He carefully selected a bit, sizing it to her ear canal until satisfied. The drill buzz was louder than any tinnitus she had known. "It should work this time," he murmured as the drill spiraled into her ear. Well, if you thought that was bad, now's the time to leave, because the next one is way more fucked up. I'll give you a little bit of history on this one. So obviously Dr. Bell carried on with a bunch of different studies. One of them, called asseveration, he involved an audiologist. She didn't know that he had faked his credentials or that his studies were not ethical. So she was kind of an unwitting pawn in Dr. Bell's schemes. Regretfully Invited. By the time she realized anyone was in her apartment, the damp, acrid cloth was pressed across her nose, and she fell back on her pillow into darkness. Voices woke her up. "Too bad," said a velvety deep voice. "She's a looker." "Focus," snapped a familiar voice. "Dr. Stapes knows too much. She was the audiologist for my tinnitus asseveration study that is causing all the hoopla." Her eyes fluttered open. Mallory tried to move, but she was reclined on a dentist chair. Several large plastic drop sheets covered the floor area surrounding her. Bindings were tight across her forehead, torso, arms, and legs. The basement air smelled dank. There were wooden steps leading up to a scratched door covered in layers of foul graffiti. A woodpile was haphazardly stacked underneath the staircase. "Hello, my dear," said Dr. Bell. He leaned over so she could see his face and gave her a smile. "How are we feeling? What is this?" "It is about the lawsuit. I cannot have you being the star witness." "I could make her a star," said the deep voice. "I know a guy who knows a guy. You'd never see her again, boss." "I am still owed the respect of a doctor, even if I have lost my employment." "Let me go," said Mallory. "I swear I won't testify. I won't be a witness." Dr. Bell tilted his head. A second face with startling green eyes and a completely bald head leered over her. "Such a waste, doctor." How can I be sure? Belle shrugged. Pass me the mouth gag. There was a rustle of movement. Nasal proclusion, he ordered. Mallory felt her nostrils pinched closed. She tried to shake her head, shake off the stinky garlic fingers, but she was pinned too tight and could only hold out so long. When her mouth popped open so she could gasp in air, something was shoved deep in her mouth. Her lips closed around a pipe or something that still let her breathe through it. Dr. Stapes, will you testify? Asked Belle. She couldn't move her head, so she gave a low moan. Let me have her, said Baldy. Glottal taser, ordered Belle. What the fuck? Thought Mallory. Dr. Bell fed something through the pipe. She began to gag as he eased it past her uvula and down her throat. Dr. Stapes, will you testify? Repeated Belle. A taser blast of electricity fired into her throat, sending her muscles into spasms that choked her until she saw stars. The pressure suddenly stopped. She moaned. Belle scratched his beard thoughtfully. How can I be sure? Hit her again, boss. Doc. Pain fired into Mallory's throat. An extended twitch with a whiff of burning flesh. The taser ended as fast as it had started. Dr. Bell wrenched the mouth gag away, leaving her gasping. There was a bitter taste of charcoal at the back of her tongue. He repeated his question. Dr. Stapes, will you testify? He frowned. Open wide. She snapped her jaw wide. Baldy snickered. Belle used a small hand mirror to look down her throat. I have good news, and I have bad news. Which would you like first, my dear? She grunted. I am afraid I have burnt out your vocal cords. That is the bad news. The good news is you cannot testify now. You will never speak again. Can't you write it down? Asked Baldy. Wait, said Dr. Bell. Dr. Stapes knows sign language. That will never do. Chop off her hand, suggested Baldy. Bell shook his head. That would be cruel. Leaving an audiologist with only one hand, she would never operate an audiometer again. She could never pop on a pair of earmuffs. Chop off both hands, said Baldy. Let her bleed out. I believe that is the only humane solution, said Dr. Bell. Mallory watched in horror as Baldy strode over to the woodpile under the stairs and grabbed a large, gleaming axe that had been laying on top the whole time. Baldy returned to Dr. Stapes. He gave her a slow smile and winked one emerald green eye. I've always wanted to do a double tap. If you liked that story, I've got lots more content on the YouTube. Also, feel free to check out my Instagram or my website. Description and links below. Have a great day. Bye, kittens.